I called up a buddy of mine who was still in Austin. And I was like, hey, I think I got an idea for a Texas travel show, but we have to film a pilot. Do you have any gear? Do you want to be part of it? And his name was Nate. And he was like, oh, yeah, yes. I was like, okay, what do we do for gear? He's like, well, right now I just happen to be the equipment manager at Austin Community College. And right behind me is a whole closet full of gear that no one's using. I'm like, ding, ding, ding. So I think we just took it for an afternoon, and I loaded up Nate, Richie, who was with the show for over a decade, and then my wife, threw them in my car at the time, and we were like, look, I've just gone to Baylor Law. I know that the entire world hates Waco, but I think it's a pretty cool town. And if we can convince Austinites to want to go to Waco, we can convince them to want to go anywhere in the world. You know, I guess I'd grown up as a Texan and sort of taken it for granted when I was young. Like, oh, Texas, been there, done that. I've been at the beach, I've been at the mountains. And then but then you get the perspective of like visiting other countries, come back home and realize, oh my gosh, like this is the most incredible place on the planet. We've got everything, and stuff is like, it's so accessible. And I wanted to shout that from the rooftops. I was like, man, that's my show. Yeah. My show is helping people appreciate what they don't know they have. Yeah. It was St. Arnold Brewing in Houston. I was like, look, I don't know. What can you give me? And they were like, a couple cases of root beer. Yeah. I was like, done. Yeah. So they paid, and they said, you can come to the warehouse and pick up beer if you want, but I never made it to Houston. Yeah. So I think they got a full sponsorship for multiple seasons for a couple cases of root beer. It's a pretty good deal. Yeah. But I knew, like, if I had St. Arnold Brewing on the show in Houston, that would give me credibility. Yeah. And it did. And so that helped the thing roll. Like, oh, you're sponsored by St. Arnold? They're awesome. Exactly. And then, then that sort of creates a clout. You know, like when I left the practice of law, it really wasn't a sacrifice because I knew that wasn't, what I was giving up wasn't that important to me. Yeah. But what I was going after was far more important. And when you can see the more important thing that you're going after, well, it's not much sacrifice to give up the lesser.
While there's certainly nothing wrong with traveling the world, what if every geographic feature that the planet has to offer and every size city is available in our own backyard? Today's guest is the 13-time Emmy Award-winning television host of The Daytripper named Chet Garner. And he talks us through his vision behind the show, as well as how it is that we can prioritize the important at home while chasing our dreams at the exact same time. Be sure to like and subscribe so that we can continue to bring more stories just like these to you. And here's Chet's story.
I'm happy to.
Yeah.
This is good. This is like a moment of reprieve amongst
calm a little bit,
emails, chaos, social media, whatever, all that stuff.
So for somebody that hasn't seen The Daytripper before, or even if they have, and just kind of the why behind it, tell us like little synopsis. What is it behind it?
Yeah. So I jokingly say, like, I want to make a TV show that inspires people to watch less TV. So that's the goal. So if you make it through an episode of The Daytripper and all you do is change the channel and stay on your couch, then I failed. What I want is for people to see it and go, oh, I didn't know that was in my backyard. Let's go get the kid. Kids, get in the van. We're going. But what it is, it's a 30-minute television show on PBS that heads to a single destination, and we show people all they could eat, see, and do if they were in X town for the day. It's a magical, mythical day, right? It's 30 minutes. It takes us 2 days to film it, and then some days, like just yesterday, I had to go back into Houston to film something that goes in an episode that we filmed a month ago. So I had to like make sure my beard was the same length and all that stuff. Right. So anyway, we're going down a rabbit trail. But essentially, it's a 30-minute show, and we love to feature small towns. We do feature big cities, but the idea is to just give people a taste of all the cool things that they don't know that are sitting right in their backyard.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
13-time Emmy winning now.
Yeah.
Up to,
that seems crazy for you to say it.
Yeah. Unbelievable.
The Emmys are, of course, you don't do something for the awards, but they're certainly nice. Yes. I mean, they're sparkly, I guess.
Yeah,
That
yeah,
helps.
they look cool. They're all over the place here. Yeah. Well, I want to ask a whole bunch of questions about it, but before we even really get to the show, I also want to get to know the man behind the show a little bit.
Yeah.
And so, if you take me out, you are born in Texas,
Yep.
close to Louisiana, right? You're like,
I grew up down in the Cajun cradle of Texas.
Okay,
So
yeah.
like Port Arthur, Port Neches. I'm a graduate of Port Neches Groves High School. But it is where the line gets real blurry when where Texas begins and Louisiana begins, and they kind of overlap down there. So it's all Cajuns. My entire graduating class was all like, they had French last names: Boudreaux, Thibodeau, Ledoux, Leroux, Hebert. I mean, and so it was fun. It was a good place to grow up. I was born in Comanche, though, which is like, Comanche's funny. It has no geographic designation. It's like this part of Texas that has no identity. So it's like not quite West Texas. It's not quite North Texas. But it's kind of like, it's hard to say. So it's sort of like east of Abilene, west of nowhere, really. So, yeah,
awesome.
The Comanche.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Were there any indications in your childhood that this is what you'd end up doing someday? Like any stories that sparked the adventurous spirit?
Yeah, I mean, I think I knew really early that, like, from the second I picked up my grandpa's VHS video camera, that, like, I love doing this. And so he had one of those cameras. Dude, I know you're younger than me, but tell me you remember VHS cameras.
I've seen them.
Okay, yeah. Like,
I got recorded with them.
Stores.
Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding. No, so, like, I mean, the things were huge. They went on your shoulder, and you put a big old tape in it, you ran around, and so he would let us, I'm sure the thing cost $1,000, maybe more, and he would let us just run around the backyard filming it ourselves, making dumb movies.
Yeah.
I had a lot of cousins, so if the cousins were around, we were all making movies together.
Yeah.
And so that was where it started. And then, like, once I found myself in middle school, one of my best friends had a camera, and we just never stopped making movies.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen them, Attack of the Killer Space Noodles from Mars, parts 1, 2, and 3. No, you haven't seen them?
I have to make time for
Okay,
those.
yeah, you need to watch them. We're working on a Netflix deal right now.
Hey, I was trying to
No, you know what's funny? There was another movie we made. It took us 3 years to make it. It was like this comedy horror movie called Simon.
Okay.
The tagline. The best part was the slogan, Simon Says You're Dead. I mean, it was brilliant. Like, anyway, one of my buddies owned, his family owned Movieland Video, which was like the off-brand Blockbuster, right? Every local town had one. And we actually put our movie out for rent at Movieland Video. I think a couple unsuspecting customers accidentally rented it.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I mean,
just to make that claim.
Yeah, we did. We had a movie for rent at Movieland Video for just a small period of time.
Yeah.
Limited release.
That's cool that the connection to what you do today. Like, I love that started young. Family memories, grandpa. Like, that's a neat part of it too.
Yeah. And then, I think I got to high school, did like video journalism, then knew I wanted to major in this. It's kind of like when you're going into school at college. All right, if you could just major in anything, with the best thing you could major in. And for me, I was like, oh, it's radio, television, film.
Yeah.
I mean, I wanted to be a Longhorn. They have an incredible program. So that was just kind of a no-brainer for me.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So did you, like, anything in, like, high school or anything like that, even before UT, that feels noteworthy? Did you do sports?
I did sports, football, and soccer in high school. But I'd also did drama, one-act play, Eagle Scout.
Yeah.
I'm a enthusiast.
Yeah.
Like the guy who wants to do it all.
Yes.
And I've got no, I don't care if I'm good at it. I really don't.
Yeah.
If I'm just in the mix, giving it a shot, that's enough reward for me.
Yeah. Would you describe yourself as, like, really, like, curious, like, all these different areas? Like,
Totally.
is it a like love of learning, experiencing new things? Like,
Yeah, I think so. I think I would definitely describe myself as curious.
Yeah.
Which is both a blessing and a curse, right?
Sure.
Because I want to learn about everything, but I don't have time to learn about everything.
Yeah.
So I got to dive deep on something. And then I'm like the dog on up, like squirrel, I'm diving deep on this, but if I get laser focused, I can go real deep on it. Yeah. But then I'm on to the next thing often before I finish this thing. So I'm always, looking for the next sort of experience thing to learn, which is truly where the Daytripper has come from, because I'm the kind of guy that I do want to know what's down every dirt road, and I do want to know what the story of every little small town.
Yeah.
So I'm naturally curious.
Would you say you've been that way like as long as you can remember? Did your parents like encourage like doing multiple things? Like what?
My parents. I mean, I'm one of 4 kids.
Okay.
And so there were certainly limits on, like, we weren't going to go and do select sports because that was just too much time commitment and it was too expensive. So we weren't going to do that. But we were encouraged to try other stuff, like, try karate. Sure, but if you start to get too good where we have to travel, no, shut it down. And then, and so, but Scouts, I give Scouts a lot of credit for creating in me sort of just a desire to learn and to figure stuff out, to experience stuff. Because like in scouting, you're often thrown into situations where you don't have anybody holding your hand to try to teach you how to, build this lean-to on a tree with, branches, or like tie it together with reeds. And so you just got to figure it out. And it kind of breeds this kind of culture of, I don't figure it out.
Yeah.
Just go figure it out.
No, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Well,
so, the Daytripper, I'm just kind of figuring it out. I'm still
just do it your whole
13
life
years,
story.
14 years, I'm still just kind of figuring it out.
Yes.
And the more I've talked to other people who are like doing something new or entrepreneurial, we're all in the same boat.
Yeah.
And that's something that I think people need to know if they go into something. If you're doing something new, by definition, there's no rule book for that. So it's hard to find mentors sometimes. And you really feel like you're out on an island just sort of making decisions that you don't know where they're going to lead.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be comfortable in the chaos.
Yes. Yeah. That makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Did you, when you chose RTF then at UT, did you already, like, was it just an interest, like a hobby at that time, or did you already have some dreams of like, man, wanting to go and create something?
Oh, man. I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know. So I was actually RTF pre-med. So
one of one?
Yeah, I was 101. I might have been the only RTF pre-med at UT at the time. Because, you want to do something exciting, but you also, it's nerve-wracking to say, I'm going to go all in on this, which people tell me is a long shot.
Sure.
So I'm going to do what my dad did and what my brother was doing. And like, I'll just do pre-med. And if the RTF thing doesn't work out, well, I have this other thing to fall back on. And it wasn't until my junior year, I got all the way through organic chemistry. And I was like, that sucked. That was terrible.
Yeah.
But it was one of those, like, okay, I can just sign up for organic too. But like, do I actually want to do this?
Yeah. And
then if I go be a doctor, does that like, do I then... When do doctors get to leave that and go make movies? Like, when is that? Is that 5th year, 8th year? And so I was like, oh, darn. And so I was like, I can't do both. I came to a crossroads where I literally couldn't do both, which, that pathway sort of repeated itself later in life when I found myself an attorney who wanted to start a show. I realized I couldn't do both, at least not simultaneously at the same time.
Yes.
And those have been some of the hardest points in my life because as the guy who wants to do everything, having to decide and rule and say no to something, that's been a huge practice in my life to learn, okay, which doors do I close and got to be okay with that.
Yeah.
But it's going to allow more time to run through the open doors. So, I was like, okay, I can't do med school in film, but maybe I could do law school
in
film,
step,
right?
Yeah.
So I'm pretty dumb sometimes, but as someone who's naturally curious, I knew I wanted to keep going to school. I didn't want to go jump on the dog pile in LA. A lot of friends who did that and had success, and some of them are still out there, and I talk to them regularly. But just that wasn't for me. I knew kind of God wasn't calling me into that. I didn't know what it was, so I was like, okay, law school seems like it's pretty open-ended, leaves my options open. I don't mind another 3 years of school. I wasn't one of those that was like ready to get out as soon as I could. I didn't know it was on the other side.
Yeah.
So, maybe it was delayed fear. But I was like, law school sounded cool, but it did sound cool. And I knew that there's a lot of people who have law degrees who aren't practicing law, and they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff.
Sure.
And that was an inspiration for me. like Mike Leach, the coach of Texas Tech at the time.
Yeah.
He was a lawyer.
Wow.
And I was like, huh?
Interesting.
How did that work? And then there were some other people who were in the film industry who were lawyers. I'm like, well, hey, maybe that's okay.
Yeah.
I got 3 more years in me.
Yeah.
So went to law school, and that, then we picked the story up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple interesting backup careers, the pre-med, the law.
Yeah.
To fall on too.
And, they were always gateways to go tell stories.
Yeah.
They always were. They were like giant safety nets.
Yeah.
But they were also self-serving in the sense that, like, I didn't do it just out of fear. I genuinely wanted to learn how that part of the world works.
Yes.
So.
Yeah. And if I'm remembering right, did you start working on some of your concepts for the Daytripper while you were in law school? Or was
I had a piece of, like, I was in law school, and I remember this. I had a piece of paper taped to the door of my bedroom, and anytime I'd have a good idea, I'd go and write one down. And there was one up there at the top, Texas Travel Show.
Wow. Yeah.
And so it didn't have a name, it didn't have anything, but...
You have that paper around anywhere?
No, I should.
Yeah.
I should. There's probably some other good ideas on there that I chunked. I don't know what else was on there. But that was one that I fixated on because I had gone to Europe a couple times. And I remember I would go to these small countries that were way smaller than Texas, and they would have their own national media. And I was like, wait. And they would be producing their own movies. And they would have their own news anchors and all this stuff. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
And we, as Texas, are part of this big country, and this whole country makes media that we consume. Like it's a one-size-fits-all. I'm like, no. Like, we should have national media in Texas. And so those were the seeds. I was like, well, if I was going to do it, what would it be? It would be a travel show, celebrate barbecue. Simultaneously, like I had, this is when I get back into practice of law, but I had all these great experiences in Europe only to come back home and find out that some things that were even better were like right here. I guess I'd grown up as a Texan and sort of taken it for granted when I was young. Like, oh, Texas, been there, done that. I've been to the beach. I've been to the mountains. And then but then you get the perspective of like visiting other countries, come back home and realize, oh my gosh, like this is the most incredible place on the planet.
Yeah.
We've got everything, and stuff is like, it's so accessible. And I wanted to shout that from the rooftops. I was like, man, that's my show.
Yeah.
My show is helping people appreciate what they don't know they have.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a cool and even unique conclusion, though. Some people, it's like they travel and then like, how can I move to this place or whatever?
Yeah,
How can I escape? And you come back with like this gratitude for what's all around us.
Totally.
Like it's already here. So,
yeah. I mean, and truthfully it is. And sometimes it just takes stepping away to realize what you have. And that was those trips for me.
Yeah. So how did you start to put that like piece of paper into action? What were some of the first?
Oh, man. So at the time, this is 2007. So, I wasn't an attorney, but for a few months, I'm like, all right, this ain't gonna stick. And so I was like, we got to find something, it's like, okay, if I want to make a show, what am I going to do? Am I going to make a movie? Am I going to make a show? Whatever. There's lots of ideas swirling. And I was like, okay, and then where do you put it on? YouTube wasn't a thing then. I didn't know anybody like that was influential in the system, Hollywood, New York. Right. So that was kind of off because you had to know somebody to get anywhere there. Local affiliates like ABC, NBC, CBS, you had to buy that time. I didn't have any money. And then I thought, all of a sudden it clicked. I was like, PBS. They're a big network. They're a big outlet. And they're always looking for local content. Yeah. What if I made a show that they would air? So they had a green light process. I looked it up online, and it was very clear, get a concept, create a little pitch deck, and then it was like, and film a pilot. I was like, film a pilot? And so I called up a buddy of mine who was still in Austin. I was like, hey, I think I've got an idea for a Texas travel show, but we have to film a pilot. Do you have any gear? Do you want to be part of it? And his name was Nate. And he was like, oh, yeah, yes. I was like, okay, what do we do for gear? He's like, well, right now I just happen to be the equipment manager at Austin Community College. And right behind me is a whole closet full of gear that no one's using. I'm like, ding, ding, ding. So I think we just took it for an afternoon. And I loaded up Nate, Richie, who was with the show for over a decade, and then my wife, threw them in my car at the time, and we were like, look, I've just gone to Baylor Law. I know that the entire world hates Waco, but I think it's a pretty cool town. And if we can convince Austinites to want to go to Waco, we can convince them to want to go anywhere in the world. Right. Now, Chip and Joanna, this is proof of concept for Fixer Upper, no doubt. Yeah, they haven't said it publicly, but Chip and Joanna, I'm waiting.
Yeah.
No, but like I think they latched on the same thing I saw. It's like this town's cool, and everyone hates it for no reason.
Right.
And so we went, made a little 12-minute pilot, showed it to PBS.
That's season 1, episode 1.
Season 1, episode 1. Yeah. Well, actually, in that little interim, we filmed the pilot in SD.
Okay.
Standard definition. Because HD was like, I don't know if this HD thing's going to take
off. Yeah.
This will be and so, duh. Yeah. And then by the time the pilot got approved, which was like a year and a half later, we were like, should we do HD? I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll future-proof it in 1080.
Yeah.
You know? Shows you how old this is.
Now you have to do like 360 cameras and let people walk around in
their
VR headsets. No, you don't want them to do that. You want them to actually travel.
Yeah, right. I don't want them. It's a poor substitute for real travel. So we made this Waco short show, showed it to PBS. They were like, we love it. Make as many as you can. Yeah. And I was like, yes, my moment. Like, where's the big bag of money? Right. And they were like,
when do I get
rich? We're PBS. We don't give money away. Yeah. We beg people for money.
Right.
I was like, right. So, I was like, how do I do this? And they're like, well, you find underwriters, partnerships, forge those. And so it was a really long journey, like a year of me cold calling anybody and everybody I could possibly think of that would give money to a show that doesn't exist yet.
Right.
Which was a hard sell.
Yeah.
It was a very
so. And you had this like genius sponsorship strategy.
I don't know about
Let
genius.
me get some names first. Yeah, I like this story when.
Yeah, well, we started off in Austin, and we were able to find just a couple people that gave us money, and it was like, for video production, it was a laughably low amount of money. But I knew if I just got people on the show, that would kind of platform me into other people. I needed a show before you can ask for money for a show.
Right.
And so it was like anything and everything. So we dropped them out, like a couple grand. Hat Creek Burgers, Live Oak Brewing, Patagonia, Austin Community College gave us money. We did ask for permission eventually when we realized we were going to be a real show. They were very supportive. And I got my law firm to sponsor walking out the door. That was pretty good play.
It was worth it after all.
It was worth it. Fulbright and Jaworski. I was like, okay, maybe they felt bad for me. Like, Chet's about to leave law and go and just flame out. We'll give him a couple. And I'm like, he's got kids. He can't just leave them, So anyway, did that. And then, but these brands didn't want to sponsor in Dallas and Houston. And so I hit up those companies, but at the end of the day, I couldn't find any money. And so I was like, look, it was St. Arnold Brewing in Houston. I was like, look, I don't know. What can you give me? And they were like, a couple cases of root beer. Yeah. I was like, done. So they paid, and they said, you can come to the warehouse and pick up beer if you want, but I never made it to Houston. So I think they got a full sponsorship for multiple seasons for a couple cases of root beer.
Amazing.
It's a pretty good deal. Yeah. But I knew, like, if I had St. Arnold Brewing on the show in Houston, that would give me credibility.
Yeah.
And it did. And so that helped the thing roll. Like, oh, you're sponsored by St. Arnold? They're awesome.
Exactly.
And then, then that sort of creates a clout. And so yeah, it was. That was probably dumb luck, but I did know that. Like, I just need to have a show.
Yeah.
I can't. You can't talk about something forever. You just got to go do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And one of the things that I love that's like happening in tandem here is your wife is a part of like this entire journey, right?
Oh, totally.
Like all the different school switches, all the like I'm gonna go create a TV show, and you guys were high school sweethearts.
We were high school sweethearts. Yeah.
And she's just supportive of the whole thing.
Totally.
Yeah.
Because that's one of the things. Like, I'm gonna leave law and go to make a TV show. One of the biggest questions I got right from the beginning, like, oh yeah, and what did your wife think about that?
Right.
And I was like, what?
Yeah.
She loved it.
Yeah.
She loved it because. I think this, my wife, Laura, wonderful. We'll celebrate our 18th anniversary this weekend.
Congrats. That's
awesome. I know, yeah. And I've got 5 kids. Love her to death. She's the most gracious, supportive person. But, I think she was more shocked that I was going to law school than when I was leaving law to go make a TV
She's
show.
seen that in you coming.
Yeah,
already.
right. I
it's
mean,
like,
and if you ask her, she says this, and I'm stealing her line. She goes, I always knew Chet was not going to do something traditional.
yeah,
Like, okay.
yeah.
So she kind of knew that. And my parents, too, like one of the most awkward conversations I ever had with my dad was when I told him I was going to be a lawyer.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of parents are like, "Oh, good, he's gonna go make something of himself." My dad was like, "How dare how dare you sell out to the dark side or whatever?"
Yeah.
He's a physician, they're
Sure.
at it all the time. So it was it made no sense that I was going to law school to my parents, but it made all the sense in the world that I was gonna go try to make a TV show.
Yeah.
And the same with Laura.
Yeah.
And Laura was gonna say like, you're smart enough. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, yeah. That feels like colossal to me. That I mean, to have people supporting, knowing like this is you, this is what I expected you to do, anyways. Like it's a huge
gift.
part of being able to go pursue a dream like that you have. Right?
Yeah, it's a gift.
Yeah,
it's a gift.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fortunate and blessed, and I try to turn that same sort of respect over to her because as spouses, we need to recognize in each other what our strengths are. More so than what our weaknesses are, but then encourage each other into our strengths. I think that's where marriage flourishes a lot. Not to say ours is perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but like she has certainly encouraged me above and beyond to pursue the things I was passionate about.
Yeah.
Because she sees them the same way I see them. These are not random things. These are God-given talents that, and this is my outlook on life. Like I think each and every one of us is gifted certain talents. Yours is interviewing people. These guys have some production talents, producing stuff. And, our best shot at flourishing in this life is to take those talents that God gave us and turn them back over into the world so that we can bless other people with them. But then what we realize as we're doing that, we receive the blessing too. That's the beauty of the cycle of service that God's given us. Like, we realize that serving others through our gifts, talents, that we actually get most benefit out of that. And that cycle keeps spinning, and that's the way it's supposed to work. It's beautiful, right?
Yeah, that's amazing. Super encouraging. I hope people can sit with that. So,
yeah.
But so you patchwork these first couple seasons together. It kind of sounds like wherever
patchwork.
I can get resources, wherever I can get help,
together.
Gotta have
begging
a product.
people for free hotel rooms or like, if we would go feature, this was it. Some of the times I would take a deep breath, like, hey, we're gonna feature your steakhouse on the Daytripper, and then like going, oh my gosh, if they don't comp this meal, I can't afford it. Or like if my crew wants to stick around and eat, which I want my crew to eat there, like, but if they don't comp it, like I can't, like be really insulting for me to eat and be like, nope, sorry, we're gonna head out to Whataburger, McDonald's, like. So people have been super gracious, but the early days were thin. They were tight, super tight. Made, no money essentially.
Yeah. Was there a season that you felt like, man, we've hit our groove or stride? Or...
It was when it was season 4.
Okay.
So I took on a business partner and he came on and he was like, dude, you're way underselling yourself, which I think people have a tendency to do. It's just by nature. I hate walking in and kicking over a table. Do you know how much I'm worth, who I am? And so at some point, and this is just the world of media, like you have to have someone else, and it's probably in a lot of things, you need someone else to talk about your value rather than you talking about your own value. So that was when we turned a corner. Andrew Ramsamy came in and he started just kind of saying, no, we're not going to do it for less than this. And I was like, boo. He's like, no, trust me. And so he helped us really create a new sort of sponsorship package that we were able to kind of finally bump it up sustainable.
Wow.
So then I got my first
employees.
employees. We've rented an office, and we're like, we're a real boy now. Kind of. Yeah.
That's amazing. And now you guys are on 13?
We're 12? Filming season 14 right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible. So almost 10 seasons ago.
It was. And that was really when we finally started making any money. Yeah. So it took maybe 4 years before we made anything.
Right.
Which people would not assume. They're like, he's on TV.
Sure.
I remember in those early days, I was like at the coffee shop down the street.
Yeah.
It's called Chi and Franny here in Georgetown. And was for some reason or another a Ferrari parked on the street, and someone came up and be like, "Hey, I like your Ferrari."
Yeah.
I was like, "Hold up! I'm a PBS TV show. You honestly think that's my Ferrari out there?" I was like, the perception of anyone on TV is just so misguided.
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, it's incredibly uncommon for some, one show to have that staying power, though. What might you point to as some of the reasons why you guys are shooting season 14 right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think we had a couple opportunities to jump up a level, but I had so much caution at that because you see people who just dominate the national psyche and dialogue, zeitgeist, whatever, for just a little bit of time, and then they flame out, and it happens to everybody. That's just the cycle. It's a chew them up, spit them out. And I thought, plus you give up creative control, and I think our secret sauce from the very beginning was to make a show about Texas for Texans, and it just so happens that other people like watching it, so we're on in all the 50 states or 49 states.
Okay.
Hawaii doesn't like us for some reason. I don't know.
What the heck?
They can't hop in a car and drive to the place I go. So, fine. I think that was our secret sauce, making something that's relevant to people beyond just being some national TV show.
Yeah.
Right? So that's been our staying power.
Yeah.
The fact that we're not just couch potato fodder. We hopefully are a tool for people to go.
Yeah.
I mean, people love travel. People love Texas.
Yeah.
The guy in front of me, shout out to Bob Phillips, Texas Country Reporter.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're familiar with it. I mean, he just celebrated 50 years doing essentially what I'm doing.
Wow.
So will I get to 50? I don't know. Maybe. But he's a legend. And he's been so gracious every time I've gotten to meet him. But I think that just speaks to the fact that Texans have a certain sort of pride that you don't find anywhere else. And I could if telling Texans how awesome they are was probably a formula that works for the rest of the time.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
And I mean, it's not that I don't believe it. I certainly do. So it's just kind of a Texas celebration.
Yes.
I don't know.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I've got no idea where this road trip ends.
Yeah.
But I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
And I think we're still, as long as we're enjoying what we do and we still still bringing value to other people, we're gonna keep doing it.
Yeah. And you are still to this day very involved in the process of choosing locations,
totally
outlining the trip, all that, right?
So back to my wife Laura, she's the official location scout. So we love road tripping, eating at funky places, Our kids are very much like, Dad, do we have to go to another weird place? Just let us go to Whataburger. Yeah. We love Whataburger. We eat a lot of Whataburger. But they want fast food fast. I'm like, no, I heard there's this little cafe down this alley that serves the best, chicken fried steak in Texas. So we're always going to small places. And my wife is very helpful. I think I just love that part of it. So I do the research, pick the spots. I shout out to my team, Daniel, Greg. We got a lot of people in the team. Teresa, who the show really wouldn't happen without them because they do a lot of the planning that I hate. So keep me in my world of dreaming, talking about chicken fried steak, barbecue, and then the writing. I really do enjoy the writing. So you go out and you film 6-8 hours of content, and then you got to whittle it into a 24-minute package.
Right.
That's fun to me.
Yeah, you enjoy that process.
Yeah.
Josh, I feel like you learn a thing or two. He always yells at me when we go long, and he has to cut it down just a couple hours. Yeah.
I'm doing something different than him, though. There's a weird, the so much of the creative process comes in our world comes out in post-production. Mm-hmm. So we always joke, there's 3 shows. There's the show you plan. You don't make that show.
Right.
The show you actually film, and you think that's the show that's going to make TV, but that's not the one that makes TV. And then there's the show you edit out.
Yes.
And so they're all kind of 3 different.
Right.
And so hopefully the one we edit and air is the best one, but it's kind of amorphous. It's living.
Yeah. Is there a episode that jumps to the top of the list that you think went either wrong or just totally different than you planned? What comes to the top?
Oh, dude. There was one speaking of, it takes 2 days to make every show. Well, we went to Port Lavaca, and I actually forgot about this show. This was like nothing. So when it comes to the Texas Coastal Bend, most are familiar with just a few points. You got Galveston, Corpus Christi, and South Padre Island. But with over 350 miles of coastline, that's just a very small piece. And today we're heading to one of the lesser traveled bays and one of the lesser traveled ports as we head to Port Lavaca. Port Lavaca sits on the edge of Matagorda Bay, about halfway between Corpus Christi Bay and Galveston Bay. It's just an hour from Corpus, 2 hours from Houston, and about 2.5 from Austin and San Antonio. Port Lavaca is home to about 12,000 residents, and while it isn't technically on the beach, don't tell them that, because you don't want to kill the coastal vibe or anger the ire of the sand crabs. That's their high school mascot. Pastel painted buildings, obligatory dolphin art, and tall palm trees all contribute to the beachy feel. And while numerous hurricanes have tried to knock it out, Port Lavaca endures, as does its history and some of its original structures. So this is the Half Moon Reef Lighthouse, one of the few wooden lighthouses
you go down
here
to Port
in
Lavaca,
Texas.
it's on the coast.
We are going to go fishing, day 2. Day 1, beautiful. Chamber of Commerce Day, blue sky, those white puffy clouds, just gorgeous. So we film all that. Day 2, we got to meet the fisherman, our guide on the dock at like 5:30. So what rolls in? The thickest fog you ever saw. Like thick, gross, condensation on the lenses. We're like, all right, look, we're going to make the best of this. We're going to go out. This was supposed to be a segment in the afternoon, so there was going to be no way to explain, like, hey, it was beautiful and sunny, and now it's, and then, like totally overcast and gross, and then at dinner it's beautiful and sunny again. Although if you pay close attention to our episodes, there's plenty of times we're like, well, what do you know? The Texas weather changed. That's the thing about Texas weather. Because you have to explain it somehow. It was a beautiful day.
And now 2 days ago,
oh man, we were in Fort Worth, and this is another story. Like day 1 was beautiful. We're in short sleeves. Day 2 rolls around, cold front, 30 degrees. What does this guy pretty much plan to wear? A short sleeve shirt the whole time.
Right.
So I've got to go out there. This is such a nice day out here. It's freezing. The crew's fingers don't work anymore. And I'm like, shut up. I'm the dude,
Yeah. That can happen in one day in Texas.
It can. And it has on us. But Port Lavaca, we go out fishing, get totally skunked. So just nothing. And, I can spin those. Well, it's not about catching fish. It's about being on the water, right? Whatever. Like, okay, I'll do that. Then we're going to bike to this lighthouse. So we dump off on this island. We're not 5 minutes in. Pop, 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 pop. All of our bike tires pop. And we're just like, screw it. I like pick my bike up, throw it down this old abandoned runway for an Air Force. Like, we're done. We're going home. We're going home. Because I was like, I can save don't catch fish, but I can't save pop tires, lighthouse. And so literally we just waited, came back a couple weeks later, caught a fish. Made sure I had like 27 extra tubes just in case I had to, because I didn't have any spare tubes, which was my fault. So anyway, things go wrong. And you're like, at some point you think, okay, well, it's kind of reality TV. Maybe we'll just lean into it. But honestly, when it's like 5 or 6 terrible things in a row, you're just like, this is awful. This is awful. Like, I can't spin everything into, well, that didn't work, but let's try this. Whoops, that didn't work. Because then that's going to, no one's going to go to that city. Like, that's the city that Chet hated. Everything went bad for him.
Yes.
Anyway. And there's more stories like that. That Port Lavaca one was one of the worst.
I can't imagine. So somebody has 3 cities in Texas. They're central here in Austin, so they have access to all of it. Where are you sending them?
Ooh, man. So I always answer the question with a question. It's like, well, what do you like to do?
Yeah.
Because people there's plenty of people who only want to eat barbecue. Like, they don't care about hiking. Yeah. I love hiking. And then there's some people, if I recommend a place with good food, they're like, no, I don't care. I just want to go to the museum or the winery, whatever it is. Yeah. And so, you can do anything you want within an hour and a half of Austin.
Yeah.
I mean, anything. And so I think it really is dependent on what people want.
Sure.
Swimming holes, throw them to Wimberley, throw them to New Braunfels, barbecue, throw them to Lockhart, Taylor. Hiking Enchanted Rock is one of the most beautiful places on earth, or Colorado Bend State Park. So I think it just depends. Depends on what people like to do.
Yeah. I love it.
But one of the most common questions we get too is, man, what happens if you get on camera and you eat a burger and it's gross and do you fake it? You spit it out? And I'm like, no. By the time we're there with a crew filming, we have vetted that place. I've often already eaten there. I know that burger's gonna be good because I'm not playing the critic game. Right. I'm not, my mama said, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. Yeah. I will not give anyone a 1-star review on Yelp. That's just mean. That small family might have just had a bad day. Yeah. Who knows what they were dealing with. So I'm not gonna bash people. Yeah. The online is not where I get vent against the world, right? So we only pick places that we know are going to be good. I've certainly eaten a ton of bad meals, but I just move on. Yeah. Move on. Yes. We're never filming bad meals. Yes. We're only filming good meals. Yeah. So our barbecue, do you love everything you eat? Yes, I do. Because by the time it's on camera, I know I love it. Right. So.
Right. Well, I feel like part of that, even what you just described there, is part of the reason, at least, why people connect with what you do. Like that positivity in a world where there's so much negative, so much, divisiveness, and this, you can feel what you just described if you watch one episode. The energy of it, the excitement of it, the positivity. There's this hopefulness. I'm going to go have an amazing time, whatever city I choose.
Yeah, whatever it is. 80 stoplights, no stoplights, whatever. We can find stuff to do.
You guys do repeat cities, or have you?
We have sometimes. Yeah, okay. Only a few times. Okay. We did Bastrop, which was after the fire. So we filmed, and then the big fire happened. Yeah. And we wanted to go back and revisit those places. So that was a very different sort of show, but it was a good one. Then there was Waco, 10 years later. Yeah. So when we filmed
episode 1.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, because you've got the explosion of Waco, the Waco Saunts. And the Magnolia, all that stuff had popped up. So we did everything that was new within the last 10 years and how much Waco had changed. Yeah. And so that was fun. Right. And of course, we have repeated the big cities. Okay. So we've done multiple Dallas, Houston, Austin, San Antonio episodes, Fort Worth episodes, because there's just so much to do in those cities. Austin, I think Austin we featured the most, and we've done at least 4 episodes in Austin and some other little one-off ones for things.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. Any misconceptions about Texas or anything that you've even when we were talking, I made a joke about Texas beaches, and you're like, no, there's some beautiful stretches of beaches.
Don't dog the beaches.
Is there anything?
I mean, the dumbest one is that Texas is flat. Yeah. I mean, right. That I don't know where that started, but that one needs to die. And then I think one big thing that kind of irks me is when people are full of this Texas pride, but it's sort of paper thin. Yeah, I'm Texan because I love it, and Texas forever. It's well, have you ever visited anywhere? Oh, no, but Texas is awesome. It's all right, why? Because we're awesome. Because the Alamo. It's we lost the Alamo. Yeah. It's yeah. We should have won. Okay, whatever. Then, so we Texans, we're already full of so much pride, but we have a million more reasons to be proud and to celebrate our state. So I think there's still some misconceptions that parts of the state are unsafe for people of a certain color. Yeah. I haven't found that to be true at all. Just someone who's white, a lot of white guys get nervous going down to the border valley, spending time there. Yeah. I found that to be extremely open and welcoming. East Texas is open and welcoming too. That certainly has a reputation as being unsafe for people of color. And so different parts of the state, different regions, people have these, even Houston, the Fifth Ward. Yeah. We made an episode about the Fifth Ward, and not to say I want to walk around in those streets at night, but there's plenty of restaurants that are open, welcoming, great to hang out in. Yeah. And people need to get over the idea that places are scary because of the people who were there. Because I haven't found that to be true.
Yeah.
If you go in with a smile, you're generally going to be met with a smile. And if you're there at a place to patronize a restaurant, you got money in your pocket, they're going to make you a delicious hamburger, and they're going to serve it to you with a smile. So I think there certainly are some of those stereotypes of regions of Texas that are just outdated. They need to die.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How would you answer that question of why do you love Texas that you put on people and so on?
Oh, man.
What are the things come to your mind?
There's not another state that's more ecologically diverse, you know? It's like from the beaches, piney woods, mountains, hill country, high plains. So we got that covered, and that's indisputable.
Yeah.
Like we just got that covered. The history, we used to be our own country.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Then,
some of us seem to think we still are.
some people think so.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just so much. I think I would challenge Texans, people who grew up here, to just look beyond that sort of bumper sticker pride and start to dig for reasons where they would actually be proud of their state. Like our history is unique, so learn a little bit about it. Our food, it's not just the food you eat, it's the stories of the people who've made it for 100 years. So learn those.
Yeah.
Just kind of start to make more of an emotional connection than just sort of like fly the flag connection, Because once I realized, man, this is like where I'm from, this is my soil, this is my terra, this is my like earth. I've kind of created an emotional connection to it, and I'm like, oh wow, this is
part of it
cool.
grows as you explore,
as you grow.
interviewing.
Yes, yeah.
Like,
I mean, it's a process, right?
Totally
a process.
100%, yeah.
But it's something I think it's a duty that we all owe Texas.
Yeah.
So
what would you say to somebody, I'm thinking now, like as you're in season 14 and so on, somebody who is considering doing something unconventional, running after a passion, that type of thing. And you got all these social media examples of like how to do that, and they're going to end up going and hurting themselves. Like what what if you're like, I'm going to do that responsibly, like I want to actually like explore taking steps towards something I'm passionate about. What would you say to somebody?
This is a really good piece of advice. So this is not my words, but it was told to me, and it is so true. Like, do what you love regardless of whether or not anybody's paying you for it. And if you get to a point where you're like, oh, I don't want to do that, well, then you don't really love it. And that's fine.
Yeah.
But take that information and maybe go find something else that you actually love. Like, what do you actually want to do more than binge something,
Yeah.
More than just go sit by the pool.
Yeah.
Like, what do you want to do more than that? And then start doing that. And it just takes motivation. Other piece of advice I got was, the hardest part of writing is just putting your butt in the chair.
Yeah.
So if you want to write a book, you better get the discipline to just put your butt in the chair over and over and over and over. Invest that 10,000 hours it's going to take to actually get good at something. People just aren't willing to invest that amount of time. Even when it's something that they say they want so bad, you look at their decisions and they're just not prioritizing it.
Yeah. That's so insightful. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's not that big a sacrifice when you look at the end game. Like when I left the practice of law, it really wasn't a sacrifice because I knew that wasn't, what I was giving up wasn't that important to me.
Yeah.
But what I was going after was far more important. And when you can see the more important thing that you're going after, well, it's not much sacrifice to give up the lesser.
Well, how about family-wise? So you have 5 under 11? Is that
5? No. My oldest is 14 now.
14 now. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm aging every day.
Yeah. Because I was like, how does that math even? Okay. So, and you're about to celebrate 18 years, and you have this crazy full schedule.
Hey, we did have 5 under 11 at one point. Because when our youngest was born, our oldest was 10
maybe that's what I read.
But it was right. I mean, it was right there.
Yeah. So anything when you're like this kind of a schedule, and pursuing something you're passionate about, and this world, how do you prioritize family? How do you make that?
That's the hardest push-pull of the job because I love what I do so much. If I don't put up guardrails, I will suck myself into this and neglect my kids. And I love my kids dearly. And so it is just a matter of discipline. So you just have to realize, like, you're never going to get everything done. Yeah. Just close the computer and go toward the valuable stuff.
Wow.
Or else they will get railroaded.
Yeah.
Like the world will demand more time from you than you have to give them.
Well, that's powerful. You have that perspective, though. Like, nobody can replace you in that specific role, right? You know, like,
no one can, right? No one could be the role. You know, God's called me to be the dad of these kids. No one else's kids. These 5 kids. Those are the only people I'm called to be dad for. And I don't want to screw that up. It's high pressure, man.
Yeah. Well, let's end on this. We asked like every guest I think we have so far ended on what inspires you today. Just like in this moment, what's getting you out of bed in the morning today? Like, what are you excited about? Maybe.
Oh man. Well, there's like getting better at my craft for sure. I want to get better at it. I see other people that are doing such cool stuff, and I want to get better at it. Even after 14 years, I don't feel like I've arrived. So I want to get better at it, always striving to get better. But the thing that pumps me up, like if I didn't have to do work right now, I would just be study the Bible. Sounds crazy, but like I've got a newfound fascination for the history of it. And so I've been spending a lot of time listening to anybody and everybody studying God's word.
Wow.
I love it.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very cool, man.
Yeah.
Well, we've loved this opportunity to sit with
It's
you.
been great.
You know, we're telling these stories of Austin and even telling stories of Texas, you know, for 14 years, you know, and longer.
I've been in Austin a little while.
You
Let's see, I
know?
moved here in 99. Hadn't left yet.
Yeah. So seriously, appreciate it. Thank you for making time.
Dude, it was a
Love
blast.
the convo. It's been great.
Super fun.
Appreciate you, man.
Now, next time, let's do it on the road at a barbecue.
That would be
all right.
That would be awesome.